In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 NBA games happening on January 3rd, 2026, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 NBA games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start: if you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Portland Trail Blazers versus San Antonio Spurs. Portland is still without Scoot Henderson, Jrue Holiday, Matisse Thybulle, and Jeremy Grant, while San Antonio is missing Devin Vassell and Victor Wembanyama, so both teams come in looking pretty short-handed on the injury report on paper. The Trailblazers have still put together some decent stretches lately, and that big win over the Pelicans last night was one of those games where their effort and shot-making actually lined up for once. Honestly, the hard part is trusting that same group to bring the same intensity on the second night of a back-to-back, with so many important pieces already out and the healthy guys being asked to carry such a heavy load again. San Antonio has to deal with the same schedule spot, since the Spurs are also on a back-to-back and also missing real contributors, but their form has been much steadier, and that kind of reliability matters when you are talking about covering a number as the favorite. They keep stringing together wins. They have cashed 7 of their last 10 against the spread, and that kind of run usually means the market has not fully caught up yet, even if the lines are starting to look a little uncomfortable. On the season, at a profitable 21 to 13 to 1 against the spread, the Spurs have quietly become one of those teams where fading them feels more like trying to be clever than making a smart, grounded play. We already saw how this matchup can tilt when these versions of the rosters collide, with San Antonio rolling to a 115 to 102 win on November 26th, and with the way the current injuries and recent form stack up, it is easy to picture a fairly similar type of result this time too. As our first pick for this matchup, the San Antonio Spurs to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Portland is averaging about 116.2 points per game on 44.6% shooting and allowing roughly 120.3 on 47.7%, so their contests often turn into high-scoring affairs that still have a slightly messy feel. From 3, the Blazers are sitting at 33.7%, with a 77.6% clip at the free throw line, and they are allowing opponents to hit 35.9% from deep, which leaves plenty of room for scoring swings, but also enough empty possessions that totals can land a bit lower than the raw pace sometimes suggests. San Antonio, on the other hand, brings a cleaner statistical scoring profile, putting up around 120 points per night on 48.3% shooting and giving up about 114.2 on 46.5%, which shows they can fill it up but are not playing total no defense every trip. The Spurs are knocking down 35.8% of their threes and 79.4% of their free throws, while allowing opponents to shoot 36.2% from behind the arc, numbers that hint at plenty of offense but not necessarily a pure shootout every single time they take the floor. Both teams rebound well, with Portland grabbing about 45.4 boards per game and San Antonio at roughly 46.2. And that glass work tends to limit second and third chances, which can quietly trim a few possessions off the scoreboard compared with a completely wild, no-box-out style game. Factor in the fatigue of a back-to-back for both squads, the missing creators on each side, and the fact that tired legs often show up more on jump shots than anywhere else, and the total starts to feel a touch high compared with how this particular matchup is likely to flow for a full 48 minutes. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Houston Rockets versus Dallas Mavericks. Houston has rattled off 4 wins on the bounce and sits in the 4th seed in the Western Conference, which feels about right for how they are playing right now. They managed that streak without Alperen Sengun, and while the schedule was not exactly brutal, taking 3 of those 4 by double digits without arguably your best player still says a lot about how connected this group is. Now they roll into Dallas for a Texas showdown with a struggling Mavericks squad, carrying a bit of revenge in their back pocket after that 13-point loss the last time they visited this building. History in this matchup has not exactly been kind to Houston, which is the one thing that does tug you back to reality a bit. The Rockets have taken just 6 of the last 18 meetings and have covered the spread in only one of their previous 6 trips to Dallas, so this has been a tough gym for them, both straight up and at the window. Still, current form often matters more than old scars, and right now the momentum clearly sits on the Rockets' side. On the flip side, the Mavericks' offense has gone ice cold again, and it is not just a little slump, it is a full-on chill. They have dropped 4 straight in 7 of their last 10, and during that stretch they sit at 24th in offensive efficiency, while hitting the fewest threes per game at 8.2 and shooting just 31.2% from deep. You look at those numbers and you cannot help but ask, how quickly can that realistically be fixed, especially when the misses keep piling up at home in front of your own crowd? We just saw them get handled by the 76ers in their own building 123-108, which did nothing to calm the noise around this team or change the mood. As things stand, the play-in tournament sits about 3 games away, and the big question hanging over Dallas is whether they keep pushing for that spot or quietly lean toward the other direction and start thinking more about the long term. The vibe around the Mavericks simply is not great right now, and you can feel that leaking onto the floor. Houston, by contrast, looks like a well-oiled machine again, and with Sengun back in the mix, they feel like a team that could stack more wins over the next couple of weeks, especially with a very friendly schedule coming up. The Rockets are still missing Fred VanVleet and are monitoring Steven Adams, who is questionable with a right ankle sprain, while the Mavericks have already ruled out Kyrie Irving, Dante Exum, and Derek Lively II. Houston went through its own slump about 3 weeks ago, but lately they have turned things around, and that dominant win over the Nets on Thursday was another reminder of their current level. So it makes sense that they open as clear favorites against a Dallas team that has managed to win only one of its past 7 games overall. You can still make a case for the Mavericks if you really want to. They are at home. This is as close to normal as their roster has looked in a while, and they did beat these Rockets just last month as a 6.5-point underdog. But the pattern is the pattern. They keep losing outright, and they are just 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 games, which is a tough trend to ignore if you actually care about tickets cashing and not just pretty theory. At some point, the numbers on the board have to turn into money in your account, and until that happens, fading that kind of team becomes the default move, not some bold stance. The Rockets, on the other hand, have put together a strong week and sit at 18-13 against the spread on the season, which is exactly the kind of profile you like to see when you are backing a favorite. One team has been paying the bills, the other really has not, and as simple as that sounds, that split often tells you enough in a matchup like this. These teams have split their 2 meetings this season, with the Mavericks taking the most recent one 122-109 back on December 6, but the way things are trending, it feels like Houston is well placed to get that revenge spot here. As our first pick for this matchup, the Houston Rockets to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Houston is averaging 120.6 points per game on 48.7% shooting, while allowing 112.7 on 46.2%, and those numbers alone hint at a team that plays with real offensive rhythm and enough pace to keep totals interesting. They are hitting 40% of their threes and 78.2% from the free throw line, which means their efficient nights can get loud very quickly, especially when the outside shots fall at anything close to that clip. On the other end, the Rockets allow opponents to shoot 35.3% from deep, and they are pulling down 48.7 rebounds per game, which suggests they can get stops and secure the ball, but they also give up just enough perimeter success to keep both teams trading scores. Dallas brings a slightly different profile, but one that still leans toward points. The Mavericks are averaging 113.6 points on 46.6% shooting and allowing 117.4 on that same 46.2% defensive field goal mark, which is not exactly a recipe for a low-scoring grind, especially when their defense has trouble putting the clamps on for full stretches. From beyond the arc, they are sitting at 33.4%, with a 76% rate at the line, which is not pretty right now, but even a modest bounce back from deep could shift their output upward in a hurry. Defensively, they are holding opponents to 33.1% shooting from 3 and grabbing 44.5 rebounds per game. So there is at least some resistance on the perimeter, but not enough to erase the points they are giving up overall. When you put all of this together, you get one team that is scoring at a high clip with strong efficiency numbers and another that is leaking points while still having enough scoring talent to punish lapses. You also have recent form that suggests both sides can get into stretches where the offense flows in bursts, especially if the Rockets keep playing with this kind of confidence and Dallas finds even a small uptick in shot making compared to their recent slump. That combination of offensive upside, defensive vulnerability, and solid rebounding on both sides lines up with a game that has a strong chance to trend toward a higher total rather than a slow half-court grind with every possession walked up. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Utah Jazz versus Golden State Warriors. The Jazz are still short-handed, with Ace Bailey, Georges Niang, and Walker Kessler out, and Keyonte George, Yusuf Nurkic, and Lauri Markkanen all sitting in that uncomfortable, questionable range. The Warriors, on the other side, have already ruled out Stephen Curry, Al Horford, Jimmy Butler III, and Draymond Green, so both coaches are basically juggling what is left of their rotations and hoping the medical staff brings good news before tip-off. With that many bodies missing, this is exactly the type of matchup where you almost have to glance at the confirmed lineups close to game time, because one or two surprise actives can tilt the whole feel of the spread. Utah comes in on a rough stretch, no way around that, but their loss to the Clippers on Thursday did have a few bright spots, which matters when you are trying to judge whether a team has quit or is still competing. Golden State walks in as clear favorites, which makes sense on name value, but they are going to have to dig deep into the bench with so many veterans sitting, so it is not the classic star-heavy Warriors look. The Warriors probably should still find a way to win the game outright, but they are also an older, banged-up group on the second night of a back-to-back, and that is usually not the spot where you feel thrilled about laying a big number and just shrugging. Honestly, I am not excited about trusting an aging Warriors team to cover a hefty spread, especially if Curry, Jimmy, and Draymond are not out there to steady things. The Jazz, for all their flaws, are not as bad as the market sometimes suggests, and sitting at a profitable 19-14 against the spread this season, they have been the kind of underdog you can quietly make money backing. As our first pick for this matchup, the Utah Jazz to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Looking at the total, the first meeting gives us a pretty loud reference point, with Golden State taking that 134-117 and the game sailing past the posted 239 total, helped by Curry pouring in 31. If we assume at least one of those key Utah questionable players finds their way onto the floor here, that adds a little more scoring punch and creation, which always nudges the ceiling higher in a game script like this. The Jazz have gone over the total in 7 of their last 10 outings, so their recent form has leaned toward games where the scoreboard keeps moving and the defense does not quite keep pace with the shot making. The Warriors have also been part of plenty of high-scoring nights lately, with 4 straight overs and 5 overs in their last 6 games. That kind of trend usually points to a mix of shaky defense, quick shots, and enough offensive talent to make those fast possessions hurt. When you blend Utah's over-heavy recent stretch with Golden State's current run of overs, plus the memory of that first matchup flying past the number, it sets the stage for another game where the total has a very real chance to land on the higher side again rather than turning into a slow, ugly grind. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Boston Celtics versus Los Angeles Clippers. The Celtics are still without Jason Tatum, while the Clippers have ruled out Bradley Beal and Bogdan Bogdanović. Boston comes into this matchup with a lot of momentum, and for the most part they are about as healthy as they have been all season apart from that big missing piece. Even so, it is the Clippers who are opening as slight home favorites, which makes sense at first glance if you just look at their recent streak and how strong they have been on their own floor. Both teams are playing well, but Boston is still the more complete group and just as hot as Los Angeles right now. The Celtics are the more efficient side on both offense and defense, and they have already shown they can keep their level even when Tatum is not in the lineup. The Clippers' current surge is real, but a lot of it has leaned on Kawhi Leonard carrying a huge load, and Boston is better equipped defensively to bother him than most of the opponents the Clippers have run through during this run. You can talk yourself into either side here, which is usually what happens with two form teams meeting, but the Celtics have been more consistent and trustworthy from the very start of the season. That steadiness, plus catching them as underdogs, gives them a bit of sneaky value in this spot, even on the road. As our first pick for this matchup, the Boston Celtics to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Both teams are 6-1 to the over in their last 7 games, and they have each been rolling on offense during that stretch. Boston has been scoring more than 120 points per game lately, pushing the pace and stretching defenses with their perimeter shooting and spacing. The Clippers have also been lighting it up, showing elite three-point accuracy and averaging more than 116 points during this same spell. With Kawhi Leonard in rhythm and both rosters comfortable in long-range shootouts, this really sets up like a game where scoring comes in waves rather than in short bursts. You have two offenses that trust their spacing, a lot of capable shooters, and recent trends that already lean heavily to higher totals, so a high-scoring affair feels more likely than a slow, defensive grind. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.